Tonight's game was the first locals that allowed Final Fantasy cards following pre-release, so let's see how they fare. The winners table consists of Seat 1, Anthony playing Glarb Doomsday, where his moistness can manipulate the top of the library and win through a Doomsday pile looking for Thassa's Oracle. Aetherflex Reservoir is his royal backup. Seat 2, Kevin with Celes Turbograve, going fast and Graveyard Persist lines go wide for infinite damage and a game over. No Phoenix Downs here. Seat 3, Michael with Obeka Extra Turns? Is that CEDH? And the turn effects for cards like Final Fortune could mean easy infinites. And Seat 4, Marcos with Stella Turbo. Count to 3, then either find Thassa's Oracle or shoot the table. With that, let's hench in and draw. But first,
gotta show off my Labubu first.
We have a pre-game action. Marco shows off his new toy and puts down a Gemstone Caverns, exiling a Brainstorm.
Put a counter on that goddamn gemstone.
Turn 1, Anthony starts by drawing and putting down an Undergrowth Stadium, tapping it to cast a Delighted Halfling, then passing. Kevin draws and casts a Lotus Petal. He plays a Plateau and taps it to cast an Esper Sentinel. Kevin passes to Michael, who draws and plays a Molten Tribituary, then passes. Marcos draws for turn and puts down a Command Tower.
Dashin Ragavan? Heyo.
Marcos goes to combat and aims a monkey at Michael, who, unfortunately, has to take it.
No, I don't. It's a card again. Yeah,
Michael exiles an Arcane Denial that Marcos can't use, but at least he gets a treasure and passes. Turn 2, Anthony draws, then plays and cracks a Misty Rainforest for an Underground Sea. Anthony casts his commander, his Moistness, Glarb, Calamity's Augur, and passes the turn. Kevin draws, plays, and cracks a Scalding Tarn for Badlands. He swings at Marcos for 1 with his Esper Sentinel and passes. Michael draws and casts a Mystic Remora, not paying the 1 from Esper Sentinel. Marcos draws and plays Arid Mesa. Marcos sacks a treasure to help cast his commander, Stella Wildcard. He cracks Arid Mesa for a Volcanic Island, and Kevin responds by casting Archivist of Ogma.
It's the little boy!
Marcos casts Ragavan. Stella triggers, exiling a lightning bolt from the top of Marcos' library.
Can you cast them anytime?
Until my next turn.
Oh, okay.
Turn 3. Anthony draws for turn and casts a Rhystic Study. He doesn't pay for Kevin's Rhystic Buddy or Michael's almost 1 turn old fish. Anthony surveils with Glarb and puts down a Mystic Sanctuary for turn, then passes. Kevin draws and puts down an Ancient Tomb. He casts a Goblin Engineer, paying for Anthony's Rhystic Study. Goblin Engineer puts a Lesser Mastercore into Kevin's graveyard. Kevin moves to combat, hitting Anthony for 3 damage with Esper and Archivist. Michael's turn. He kills a fish.
He drew a land. Goodbye, fish.
Michael draws and plays a Ghost Quarter. He casts a Fairy Mastermind and passes. Marcos draws and asks the table for cards in hand.
7. That's 6.
After some thinking, Marcos pays 2 life to cast Gitaxian Probe, not paying for Rhystic Study Buddy. Probe targets Michael.
I don't know. I know you have a free spell in that deck somewhere. Oh. Oh, I was right to look at his hand.
Kill Michael.
Oh.
Marcos notices a Force of Will and Ledger Shredder in Michael's hand. Marcos goes to combat, aiming his monkey at Anthony.
Oh no.
He's gonna take your top card.
I know.
And you know what your top card is.
It's so depressing.
Anthony exiles a Force of Will.
Hell yeah, dude.
Marcos makes a treasure, which he uses to cast Lightning Bolt, targeting Esper Sentinel, and not paying for study. Michael draws a card from Fairy Mastermind, since Anthony drew his second card this turn through Rhystic Study. Stella triggers from the bolt being Marcos' second spell this turn, and exiles a counter spell from the top of Marcos' library.
Is it a regular counter spell?
Yeah.
It's just a plain old
Why?
Because it's Hatsune Miku.
It's Japanese.
Yeah, that's literally the only reason why I have it. Mana Drain costs the same amount of mana.
But does it have her on it?
Exactly, true.
Marcos passes. Turn 4. After untapping, Anthony activates Glarb to surveil 2, then draws. He plays and cracks for a tropical island, causing Archivist of Ogma to have Kevin gain 1 life and draw a card. Anthony casts a Mystic Remora, then a Grim Monolith, and passes. Kevin draws and shocks in a Sacred Foundry. He pays 1 for Rhystic Study and casts a Ranger Captain of Eos. The table deliberates.
I'm gonna go get a carrion feeder, if that helps.
With that, Ranger Captain enters, and Kevin searches for, as he says,
Go get my stinky little carrion feeder.
Kevin casts the stinky little carrion feeder and does not pay for Anthony's Rhystic Study. He passes. Michael draws, plays a swamp, then casts an arcane signet, not paying for any Ristic fishes. He casts the Ledger Shredder, not paying, and passes.
Wow, I did nothing. Correct.
Before that bites Marcos in the butt, he draws and goes to combat, aiming the monkey once again at Anthony, exiling a Talisman of Dominance and creating a treasure. Turn 5. Anthony draws. He shocks in a breeding pool.
I'm stupid. Why did I pick for fish?
The game reaches a fever pitch. With at least 5 permanents that could be affected, Anthony attempts to cast Culling Ritual.
Ooh.
Kevin says oof, Michael swears, and Marcos considers his options. If this card resolves, then multiple non-land permanents costing less than 2 mana would be destroyed, giving Anthony more than enough mana for a game-winning plan. The table politics.
The real question is, do you have responses?
You liar. You absolute liar. You liar.
That's what I just went to go ask.
You liar.
I'm politicking now. It's like, do you have responses?
Yes, I do.
Because I can't. Because I can't respond to it.
I do have an answer, but he does too.
No, I don't. I swear you do.
As much as you
think.
I saw his hand. He has one. Okay, now I gotta think. Give me. Oh no, sorry.
He's allowed to look at the
Glarb. Okay, now give me a second.
Looks at him.
Honestly, I'm mostly afraid of that Ranger Captain because
There's 12 on board showing. That's what you have to do.
10 if it resolves, 12 on board showing.
that is true. Are you gonna sack that Ranger on your turn?
On my turn?
Yeah.
It's your turn right now.
If I draw a win con, then probably, but I don't have it right now.
After 8 minutes of deliberation, Marcos decides that it's best to stop Anthony from winning now and worry about the Ranger Captain later. Marcos sighs, sacks a treasure, and taps a blue to cast Mana Drain.
It may not be Hatsune Miku, but it costs the same.
Anthony begs to reconsider since the table will have the Ranger Captain to worry about.
I would rather this stops and then the night gets like snapped and we don't have to worry about it anymore.
Anthony gets depressed as his Culling Ritual gets mana drained, but at least he enchants his Glarb with Freed from the Real. Ledger Shredder triggers and Michael connives. Anthony discards the hand size as he passes the turn. Kevin suspiciously asks for any actions on Anthony's end step.
Anything during his end step.
Anthony decides to discard Hullbreaker Horror and Rejuvenating Springs. Kevin draws for turn, thinks real hard, and Anthony realizes he missed the draw triggers off Ristic Fish.
God, if those 2 draws make a difference, I'm gonna cry, dude.
Marcos' fear comes to life as Kevin decides to sacrifice his Ranger Captain of Eos.
Michael plays Obeka.
Marcos, once again, asks the rest of the table for any possible answers.
And let's say I draw you cards, would you have an answer?
To protect whatever you do.
For a stifle effect?
Who plays Stifle in CEDH? Well, now would have been great. After the game, Kevin mentions that he had a silence in hand and a couple of outs, so this was in his favor anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ranger Captain of Eos resolves. The rest of the table can no longer play non-creature spells during Kevin's turn. Kevin casts his commander, Celes Rune Knight, not paying the 1 for Ristic. In response, Anthony surveils 2 with Glarb. Celes enters the battlefield. Through her enter effect, Kevin discards 6 cards to draw 7.
Yo, that's cracked. Okay.
Speaking of which, Kevin plays Verdant Catacomb and cracks it. Kevin casts Lion's Eye Diamond. Michael connives through Ledger Shredder, then it's his turn to sigh, realizing he can't play anything due to Ranger Captain of Eos. Kevin activates Goblin Engineer's ability, sacrificing Lion's Eye Diamond to return Lesser Masticore from his graveyard to the battlefield. When Masticore enters, Celes' ability triggers for Kevin's creatures to gain +1/+1. Kevin sacks Lotus Petal for Goblin Bombardment. From here, Kevin sacks the Masticore to Goblin Bombardment, dealing 1 damage to Marcos. Masticore has Persist, so it'll come back with a -1/-1 counter, but since Celes adds a +1/+1 counter to returning creatures, Masticore's counters negate each other. Kevin presents a loop of sacking Masticore to Goblin Bombardment, dealing 1 damage to a player, returning Masticore, and continually feeding it to Bombardment. With that, Kevin reaches first place in the winner's table. As for the following seats, Michael successfully imprints a Final Fortune onto his Isochron Scepter, but his extra turn is stopped by Anthony channeling Poseiju, who endures, causing Michael to end the turn prematurely instead of taking an extra one. Marcos does nothing on his turn. Anthony was able to successfully go through his deck to present a loop with Aetherflux Reservoir, Bolus's Citadel, and Sensei's Divining Top. Anthony gets second place. From there, Marcos concedes as he has no interaction against Michael's imprinted Final Fortune. Michael gets third place, and Marcos gets fourth. Great game, guys.